So here we are, panel number 2. This is our World of Job Seeker Preparation panel. So people, your most valuable asset, would not be complete without hearing from those we hire, the employees, those in the workforce and those who will one day be part of it. So today we are fortunate to have 2 men who took 2 different paths to their careers, and several high school students are in the midst of planning their futures. Remember how we started this conference? 15 years? All right, so here we are. There are many paths that can be taken to prepare for one's career, earning a degree, training on the job, or building the skills early on to be able to make good choices. So again, I will get the panel started with brief bios, and please refer to your booklet for more information on our presenters. And again, you will have the opportunity to ask questions. So on my left is Kevin Fleming. Kevin is a 1991 RN. Kevin is a 1991 graduate of Indian River High School. He holds a bachelor's degree in history and is a 2010 Delaware Tech graduate. Kevin spent several years traveling the world, and when he realized that he wanted to begin a new career in nursing, enrolled at Delaware Tech to earn his nursing degree. Next to Kevin is Travis Carter from Miller Metals. Travis was born and raised outside of Greenwood, where he attended school until the 11th grade when he dropped out to work a full-time job. Travis gained I was going to make some crack about Rob Ryder, but I'm going to pass on that. So, Travis gained a sound knowledge of the local building industry by working in his family's business for 8 years. He then spent time traveling overseas, and upon his return, has worked as a metal fabricator for area businesses. He's currently employed at Miller Metal and is also in the process of starting his own business, Atomic Artwork, making metal furniture and sculptures. We have students Richard Lamontagne, Jenny Vasquez, and Kiara Kilgo from Delaware New Tech Academy at Seaford High School round out our panel. Richard is a junior who not only strives for academic excellence, but also is involved in many extracurricular programs, is vice president of his class, and serves as a class ambassador. His goals include becoming a successful entrepreneur and to own and run a Fortune 500 company. Yeah, do it. All right. Kiara Kilgo is a sophomore and has also had the opportunity to be a guide for guests that visit the academy. She's a distinguished honors student, a student athlete, and is involved in several extracurricular activities. She aspires to be valedictorian of her class and to continue her education at Harvard University. Jenny Vasquez was born in El Salvador and is a senior at Delaware New Tech Academy. She served as a tour guide for Senator Tom Carper and participates in student government, field hockey, and the Academy's production company. Jennifer plans on being the first in her family to go to college. So Kevin, let's get us started.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Fleming. I'm a registered nurse at Nanticoke Memorial Hospital in Seaford. I grew up on a 60-acre farm in Dagsboro with my 8 siblings and my parents. My family has been in Sussex County since the early 1800s. Now, Fleming isn't a real Sussex County name. My mom's maiden name is Bennett. And my earliest family member was a man named Levin Bennett, who came to Ocean View from Jamestown, Virginia in the early 1800s. My grandfather was named George Delmar Bennett. He graduated from Lord Baltimore High School in 1934. Now, my grandfather, Pop-Pop as I called him, he was an ambitious young man, and when he graduated, he was faced with the dilemma that faced many young Sussex Countyans for years. What am I going to do for work? College was out of the question. This was the heart of the Deep Depression. So Pop-Pop decided to move to the big city and find his career there, and he spent the next 60 years in Philadelphia. He became a salesman, and he continued on in sales, and he worked for a large steel corporation until 1967, where he bought his own factory and became the boss. In 1981, he opened the factory in Georgetown, Delaware, to take advantage of the low costs and to bring jobs back to Sussex County. Delmaco Manufacturing is still in operation over at the Industrial Air Park, where it employs approximately 20 Sussex Countyans. I graduated from Indian River in 1991. I had attended the college prep courses and had always been sold on the American dream of go to college, get a good job. I attended East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. Now, the one thing they didn't tell me about going to college was what to study. I found myself in the same situation as a lot of the Occupy Wall Street protesters when I graduated, because I had received a liberal arts degree in history. I had learned a lot, but really had no job skills. I wasn't prepared for the workforce. I had $30,000 in student loan, however. The summer after I graduated, I had no plan what to do with my life, but fortunately, living in Sussex County, I turned to tourism to find a job. I rented umbrellas at the beach, and I lifeguarded, and I worked in the restaurant industry. I was lucky to find a job in Bethany Beach at a small restaurant called Sedona, and the tips were really good, and the management was really great to work for. And I learned the importance of working with a smile and working hard. And a lot of Sussex Countyans in that part of the county, their first job is in tourism. But we can't do it year-round, and Sedona wasn't a year-round restaurant. But I worked as hard as I could and saved my money, and before I knew it, 15 years had passed. Some winters I'd worked in Florida, California, or traveled around the world, enjoying an endless summer. But every May I was back at Sedona serving food with a smile, and I had a really nice setup. But in August of '06, I decided it was time for a change, and I had always driven by Del Tech. And two of my sisters were nurses, and my great aunt, she was a nurse in the United States Army, as well as a lieutenant colonel. I inquired about nursing at Del Tech, met with a counselor, and 2 weeks later, went on my path to become a fully employed year-round registered nurse. I graduated in 2010 as an RN, and then as now, the market for new grads was very tight. I was fortunate to land an interview with Nanticoke Memorial Hospital just before graduation. One of the interview questions when they saw that I lived in Ocean View was, there's hospitals closer to you than Nanticoke, how do we know that after we invest in you and train you, you won't jump ship to another facility in order to have a shorter commute? I pointed out the fact that I had worked for 15 years at Sedona, and I said, I'm a very loyal employee, and if you're willing to take a chance on me, I'll repay you with my loyalty. Another question dealt with how I would get along with people and resolve conflict, and I pointed out that coming from a family of 9 children, I knew how to get along with people with different personalities. Many of the skills I learned in tourism are very useful as a nurse, smiling, thinking under pressure, and working nights, holidays, and weekends. So what does an employer look for in an employee? Well, they say that 90% of life is showing up, and I learned that early on in life. I had perfect attendance from 5th grade until my sophomore year in high school. In the tourist industry, I learned the importance of a positive attitude and a smiling face. And I learned to be flexible with my schedule because holidays and tourism is a big part of the game. And when I was ready to start a new career, the final piece of the puzzle was getting the skills which I obtained here at Delaware Tech. Employers want qualified workers with a good attitude who show up and are reliable and who are flexible. I was lucky to be hired in 2010 at Nanticoke Memorial Hospital when a lot of people were out of work. And a hospital is a 24-hour facility, which means working nights, weekends, and holidays, so flexibility with your life and your family is a must. Dependability is another trait that employers want. They want you to show up and be punctual and have a long-term commitment to the company. Having ties to the community is a sign that the employee may stick around for the long term. A lot of people who aren't from the area graduate, sign on, they invest money in the employee, and then they move to the city 6 months later. But patient satisfaction is a big deal, especially under new Obamacare legislation. A lot of reimbursement depends on how satisfied the patients are, which makes a compassionate, smiling RN that much more important. And I want a mutually beneficial relationship with my employer. They want me to be committed. I want to feel they're committed to me. I'm very fortunate to work for Nanticoke. They hired me during the recession, and now it's been 3.5 years. And they polled the employees recently to see concerns that we have. They actively engage us with town hall meetings to inform us about policy and allow us to voice our concerns. It's like we're a team. The employee and the employer, we work together and look out for one another. Employees also want inflexibility from their employer. Special time off for family and graduations and weddings and funerals. In today's world of technology, we're all human, and spending time with loved ones knowing that we're going to be okay if we get ill and can take off for weddings will keep us happy in both our professional and personal lives. Upward mobility and opportunity for advancement is really important in retaining employees also. Employer-funded education, if available, is an affordable way for employees to move up in the workplace and possibly become administrators. Sussex County is a wonderful place to call home. It sure has changed a lot since I was a kid, and definitely since when Papa was young. It's a special place to raise a family, and with good local jobs and local educational opportunities, Sussex County employers and employees can establish that mutually beneficial relationship that can enable all of us who call this place home to prosper for years to come so that generations more can enjoy all that Lower Delaware has to offer. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Travis Carter, and I work at Miller Metal, and I'm sure it's mostly Rob that I'm here, so I should talk about both their businesses and how on-the-job training is pretty much how I got to where I'm at now. I never wanted to go to college. I did to be an anthropologist when I was younger, and I think that over time I realized that there's no way I'm going to make any money doing that. So I had to just go my own way and figure out how to make a trade. And trades are anything from like woodworking to metal to masonry. And a lot of the young people that we have coming in the shop, some of them can't even read a tape measure. And I've had to take a few under my wing and help them out. And through the last couple of years, Miller Metal has really grown. They used to be, I don't know, there was one laser and maybe 20 people. Now there's, 63 lasers and a whole mess of other equipment. So in order to fill all these positions, they had to find some good workers. Most of them all came from the local area. And I know Rob hires a lot of younger people at OA Newton's. In order to get to where I'm at in the metal business, I had to cut back and take about 2 to 3 days a week in pay. I did work about 5 or 6 for the guy, but it was an apprenticeship. I had to learn all the basics and get to the bottom of how metal really worked. And it was hard. I had to move back home to my parents and everything. A lot of people these days are having to do that. And a lot of the local companies are starting to look more local for their help. And I think that people are buying more local. So places like Dogfish Head, which I follow online all the time because I look for jobs there too, actually. I always thought that off-centered was more where I needed to be. And Marty's given us opportunities that some of us have actually quit, go and work somewhere else, and hey, we didn't like it, we came back. And for people to have no other education, that's a really big gift. And the last year or so, I started working with my own company doing metal art and fabrication, and that's gotten a lot more interest in the past couple months. I started working with a guy that owns a gallery in Milford, and he's hoping to open up the River Art Center for Traditional and Modern Craft right in Milford. And there's been talk that, there'd be a lot of different teachers with that and be able to teach people art and trades so that hopefully as they go on through their life, they'll be able to use those skills. That's taken up a lot more time than I thought it would, actually. The art world is a cutthroat business, too. It doesn't make any sense how people purchase things. But buying local is an important part of that, because if you can buy something from a local tradesman, that's money not going out of the community. And most of the time, those people will trade back with you for something that you create. And I think with the new generation, these younger children here, the more they can learn that they can be successful at an early rate. Like if they're building something or creating something, it doesn't have to always be academic, but they have confidence because they created something, whether it be a piece of pottery or they made a good bead on welding a hopper up or something. But it'd be awesome to see what kind of businesses they could create in the coming generations. Thank you.
High school. What comes to mind when I say the words high school? High school is defined as a preliminary period of time after middle school which prepares students for life. Will you be successful in life? That's all determined in high school. Those 4 years determine the rest of your life. And as I go into the second marking period of my 3rd year of high school, I take the time to reflect on how my school has prepared me for my life. And I can confidently say, I am ready to turn the tassel. This is because of my school, Delaware New Tech Academy. New Tech is a revolutionary learning model that teaches students 21st century skills through project-based learning. Whoa. This is how it works. We get a project on a specific subject. They may last from 1 week to about 3 months. We get into groups chosen at random. This is because New Tech is modeled after a business. You don't get to choose who you can work with at your job, so why should you at New Tech? That's how we operate. You must learn how to resolve your disputes if you don't like your group members. You have to get through it and get the job done. That's how it works. And trust me, it gets hard sometimes, but we work through it. A group member is voted as something called the facilitator, and the facilitator is pretty much the boss of the group. They make all the decisions. They're responsible for the welfare of the group. If you have a group member who's at another table, slacking off, not being productive, you're the one who has to go over there and tell them, hey, get on task. This teaches leadership skills. And as facilitator, you learn how to delegate tasks, set goals, and follow through with rules on your group contract. Every group member is held accountable for their actions, though, and their work. And just like a job, if a group member fails to do their part, the group can fire them from the group, and that person must restart the project from scratch all by themselves. This does not have to happen 10 times before the student gets the point. Show up to school, abide by the contract, and stay productive. Because just like a job, when the deadline hits, it hits harder than a right hook from Mike Tyson. So we have no choice but to learn how to manage our time. At the end of the project, each group must present their work to the class or judges from the community. Both are very nerve-wracking. But it is necessary to know how to publicly speak, whether it's talking in front of the admissions officer for your college meeting or getting interviewed for a job. You need to know how to talk in front of people. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kiriko Haga. I'm a sophomore at our Delaware New Tech program. There's a lot of things that I could say about New Tech, but what I really wanted to focus on today was talking about group work. Nobody that goes into the business world likes everybody that they work with. If you think that your boss likes every employee and every coworker that you have, you are sadly mistaken, because they don't. And if they tell you that they do, they're lying. When you're in New Tech, it is really, really important for you to learn how to collaborate with people. You do not have a choice with who it is that you work with. You get your group, and that's just it. Your project still has to get done. Everybody needs to make sure that your attitudes are combining and agreeing with each other. It doesn't mean that who you work with, you have to be best friends with, and you guys have to go out to dinner after the project is done. But while you're at school and while you're in the business world and you're getting your project done, you have to make sure that you set all of that aside. Mr. Edward Lano said, politeness is the poison of collaboration. It's fine to be nice to people, but in your group, everybody has a facilitator, everybody has a boss, and you're not going to be the leader all the time. You won't be a follower all the time, but there's always going to be somebody in your group that you have to listen to. And they're not always going to be nice to you. Sometimes they're going to be like, hey, you need to get this done, and you just have to get it done. That's just the way things work. It's really important for us to know that alone we can only do so little, but if everybody comes together, you can do a lot more things. You win awards and stuff when you get your projects done, if you do the best, and when you put people in positions to do work, just like you do at your job, on an application they ask you, what experiences do you have? What do you work best in? And when you do your groups in New Tech, that's what you do. You pick the job that helps you the best part of your ability that you can do. If you can public speak, be your speaker. If you can do research, then find research. If you can do math, be the mathematician. And if you just like telling people what to do, then be the facilitator. That's perfectly fine. It's important for everybody to know what role that they play, because you can't do it, you can't have one without the other, and you can't do it by yourself. It's important for everybody to know that if we all work together, success will take care of itself. Thank you.
Well,
Over the years, it has been difficult for employers to find the ideal employee due to the constant change of required skills. Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I am a senior at Delaware Tech Academy. As I first entered the program, I was lacking in skills, for example, communication skills, work ethic, and working with other people. That's my weakest point. But as I entered New Tech, I was working in groups constantly. I was working with different personalities, and I learned how to work with people who might like to lack off a little bit and people who did the work all the time. New Tech taught me how to express my ideas and how to be a leader and not a follower. As over time, I learned more and more how to manage my time because in New Tech, you work with projects and they are related to real life. For example, we might work with a company to make a commercial for them, and we have to meet deadlines because that company is kind of want that commercial by a certain date. So that's how I learned how to manage my time and meet different deadlines. Now that I've been 3 years in New Tech, I started this my sophomore year, and I can now say I'm ready because I have the skills. I have the 21st century skills now. I'm ready for whatever the employer is looking for. I'm ready for after graduation. I'm a senior, and I am a little bit nervous about what's going to happen with me. But now that New Tech has prepared me for all this, I've learned different skills. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Like, I was the most shy girl in the class. I was the one in the corner. Like, I will never raise my hand. I will never speak to you. The teacher will speak to me. I will never speak back. And I will not be able to be talking to you right now. I'm able to say our New Tech model is trust, respect, and responsibility. And now I'm able to say I'm a trustworthy person. I'm responsible, and I also know how to manage my time, which is really important for the workplace. That's it. Thank you.
So again, Kevin, Travis, Richard, Kiara, Jenny, thank you. So let's put everybody else to work now. What do you think? All right. You got 7 minutes. What I'd probably like you to do, think about one question for one of the panelists from your table. Make sense? One question. I've got a bunch of folks up here, so ask one question of one person. So have at it. Take about 5 or 7 minutes at your table to come up with that question. Thank you. Question time. Let's start at this end. All right. Very good. You are so active in waving your hand. Right. You ready? Denise, there you go. Good.
This question is for the panel of students from New Tech. What do you see as the best incentive an employer could give you to motivate you?
Well, let's collaborate about it first. Well,
Did you get the question you want to ask?
Oh yeah, we're talking about it.
You
So
are.
we're collaborating.
This is about the goodies, you know what I mean? This is not consensus, you know?
Well, we get a leadership on. I can answer. Yeah, I got it. Well, when we get into groups and you pick a facilitator at the end of the project, if it's a really big project, that facilitator might get something called the leadership bonus, which is a couple extra points for being the leader and taking on that extra responsibility. So possibly a good incentive would be a raise for employers, you know. Maybe every 6 months you get a $10 raise or something.
Richard, you wish. Is that what they do right now?
Yeah,
Richard.
yeah, every 6 months you get a raise.
Richard.
I have a question for the students. When you finish college, do you think you will seek employment in Sussex County?
You need to answer that. Like I said before, I'm a senior. When I graduate college, which I hope I will, I know I will, I am looking forward to be a successful person. And I know that New Tech has prepared me for, you know, the workplace, and I know what the skills that I have right now. And let me tell you, not every graduate from high school has those skills, and not every college graduate has those skills either, but I have them, and I know I will be successful because I have those skills.
Any other students?
Yes.
Did I answer your question? No.
He wants to know
No,
if you're
Bob,
getting
one
a
of the,
job.
this conference started 20 years ago with business and education. How do we keep our kids in Sussex County? Do we have the right systems? Do we have the right jobs? Do we have the right education system? So Bob's question is, hey, you gonna stay?
Did I plan on staying here? Originally, I wasn't planning to stay here, but now that I see what's out there, after all these presentations that I've seen today, maybe I plan on staying.
Well, well, personally, after I graduate college, I do plan to stay in Sussex County because I live in Seaford, and we've seen a lot of growth in the past years. Like, we now have a Papa John's, a Lowe's, and everything. And I want to grow with Seaford, you know. I want to open my own business and be an addition to Seaford and grow with it.
Very good, all right. Anybody in the center section here?
Everybody has.
All right, I've got a couple back there. Let me wind this way. Let's see, Gary, you got one? We'll go here. Got you all the way in the back. And I'll come back.
I think a lot of us are unfamiliar with Sussex or Delaware New Tech Academy. And Senator Venables, being from Seaford, says it's part of Seaford High School.
Yes.
Can you explain the difference between the New Tech Academy and a regular student at Seaford High School?
No, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so it's not as much this year because we kind of have some school rules going on right now, but I know last year when I was a freshman in New Tech, it's like you're still a part of Seaford High School, but like you have such like a bigger advantage than most of the other kids. Like when you walk past the traditional side and you go to classrooms there, like kids are sitting there and they have books in their hand and all that kind of stuff, and it's real quiet and calm. It's not like that when you go down the New Tech hallway. Everybody's talking and all that, and that's because you're constantly like working in groups. I know traditional kids that are always like, I wish I was in New Tech, because you're not sitting there with a teacher in front of you telling you what to do all class period long. And a lot of kids don't learn that way, and they be going to sleep in class and all that other good stuff. But you are constantly doing something all the time. And when we have guests come or your parents come and all that, they hold you to a higher standard of doing things when you're in New Tech. Not saying that you're better than the traditional kids, but you're a teeny tiny bit better than the traditional kids, but you don't tell them that. But it's just the way that you're learning that's different. Like everybody, when people come to school, everybody knows that you're different from the rest of the school. Everybody.
So, excuse me, Richard.
To answer your question, sir, it's kind of like a school within a school. Say, for example, you're to transfer to the Seaford School District. It just gives you another option of how you'd like to learn the content. We still learn the same content as everyone else in Delaware. We have to abide by the same standards. We just learn it in a different way. You understand? Say, for example, you know how we have auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic learners. Say, for example, you fall under some of those categories, you'd be good for New Tech because we learn in those ways.
All right. Do I have any questions for Kevin? Come on. You were charged to do this now here. All right. Questions for Kevin right here.
Not a question, but a comment. We're so proud of you. Thank you.
Smooth, very smooth. Smooth the plant. All right. Any questions for Travis? All right. Oh yeah. All right, Travis. Oh, you're not getting out of this.
This is really for Kevin and for Travis. You've both had interesting backgrounds, and you're both successful in what you do. What is the one thing out of your experiences that you credit to that success in your training, your education, and what you've done that stands out?
That would I would attribute to my success or my happiness. What thing I would credit? I don't know. I think my mom and dad taught me how to have an open mind and to always be tolerant of everybody. And I think that they I was raised in a compassionate household, and so I had a good moral upbringing, as well as, and that was the foundation upon which I built my education and the other skills that I obtained in life. But it all started with morality and kindness and compassion that was instilled in me as a kid.
I think mine is, I think outside the box a lot, and I really don't care a whole lot of what people think.
I apologize. I really do. To me, this is the best. This is, it's part of what makes this conference go, but I've got to shut it down because remember how I started this? The thing that we can't mess with is the demographics. We've got Ed Simon coming up. So let's give the panel, let's give Kevin, Travis, Richard, Pierre, and Jenny. All right, very good.